I have my hook for this video written as all my rookie mistakes and how you can avoid them, but that feels disingenuous. And if there's anything I don't want to be, it's disingenuous. This is probably just going to wind up being one big mess. That's just kind of how my brain works. If you're new here, hi, I'm Dana. I am a Midwestern neurodivergent author, and I publish unapologetically honest stories about real characters under the name D.L. Pitchford. A lot of the time, it feels like no matter what I did, I was doomed to fail. I don't necessarily think that's true. I don't know. I'm struggling today. I haven't even posted my first video, and it already feels like I have failed. It feels like I'm behind. I don't expect this channel to do particularly well. To an extent, I do expect it to do poorly. I often feel like everything I do fails. It is really difficult to know how accurate that is, because it certainly feels accurate. But anecdotal evidence is not enough. To really talk about this, first we need to talk about me. I have wanted to publish books for almost as long as I can remember. I got my bachelor's degree in creative writing in 2013, and then pretty soon after I got married and had kids, and that changed a lot of things. For Nano 2015, I completed my first ever full draft of a story, and that was a project that I really want to go back to, and I will at some point. But I set it aside and started working on something that wasn't just high fantasy. I wanted to do something where I could really delve into the characters. So that wound up being my first book. I self-published that in 2017. I wasn't done with those characters though. I love them so much, and I wanted to continue the story and continue her character growth. So in 2018, I published the second and third books in the series, and I was working on the fourth and last book. But I have about 1 million story ideas, and I really wanted to work on one of those too. I was at the time trying to figure out where my books fit in to anywhere, and because they're contemporary coming of age, it really led me to this sort of contemporary young adult and new adult crowd. One of the stories that I started working on was a gender-swapped YA Cinderella retelling, and I wanted to do a whole series of this, gender-swapped Beauty and the Beast and gender-swapped Sleeping Beauty and all of that. This was a fun idea that I had, but there was a new indie publishing group that was putting together anthologies based around different fairy tales. So because of this, I signed up to join a couple of them. I signed up for the Cinderella one, but as I was writing this book, I was already so burned out while I was writing it that it was a huge struggle. I could not get it completed in the way that I wanted in time for this. I finished the book. I had already paid to be part of the anthology. I had committed to this. I really wanted to do this. I wanted it to be a good book, but it did not fit the story that I wanted it to be, but I did not have time to completely redo the whole thing because that's what I wanted to do. It was really frustrating and difficult to put out this book that I did not feel confident in, that I did not love, but that book was published in April of 2019. I published it individually as well as in the anthology. By that time, I was already at this point where I was so burned out that trying to write anything was impossible. I had also signed up to be in a Beauty and the Beast retelling anthology, and I was intending to be in others that they were putting together. But I couldn't do it. I knew I couldn't do it. And it took a lot of talking to my therapist and figuring out that forcing myself to do this was not working. It was just making it worse. It was early enough in the process that I was able to pull out of the Beauty and the Beast one, and I was just so burned out that I stopped publishing. I stopped writing on my own stories. The only thing I've really written since mid-2019 is stuff that I cannot publish, secret project stuff. It feels kind of crazy when I think about the fact that I published my first book in 2017, and 2 years later I had already burned myself out so much that I haven't written in over 5 years. That's 2 years. I did 2 years of writing, and it was too much. To be fair, that's 2 years of publishing, not 2 years of writing. I spent plenty of time writing before that, and I don't think it was really the writing process itself that was a struggle for me. Writing became a struggle because I burned myself out. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, I am a perfectionist. I have known this basically my entire life. As long as I have known the word, I have known that it fits me. I am a huge stickler for the rules, and I have an excellent memory. So both of those things add to this, need to do things correctly. And while I firmly believe that doing things well and doing things accurately and genuinely is very important, perfectionism is not actually that. Perfectionism is often a detriment to your own health. Now, there are things that it can be very good for. It's one of the reasons I am so good at editing and self-editing. Shameless plug for my editing services. But that works because I'm working on someone else's stuff. When the perfectionism is directed inward, it is worse. We are our harshest critics. I'm pretty sure most people know that. This is not news, but this is something that I have struggled with for a really long time. I don't want to just do things well. I want to go above and beyond and do things as well as I possibly could, better than I possibly could. I think the biggest issue here is not so much the way my perfectionism affects my writing, because I feel like in general it makes my writing better. It leads to much improvement. But it also leads to a disparity between where my writing is at and how other people react to it. If I write an amazing book, but I can't figure out how to get anyone to read it, does that matter? And that disparity is where a lot of the struggle came from. Probably the thing that I have struggled with most is marketing. It's selling. It is developing this persona on the internet where I have to be able to plug my book in 160 characters or less with just an image and convince people to read it. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how anyone does it, but people do. It does not make sense to me. It does not compute. I have no marketing skills. I do not have people skills, frankly. I have some friends who people just gravitate toward. It's not even necessarily that they are people. A lot of them struggle with social anxiety and they're extroverts, but for whatever reason, people just gravitate toward them. I don't really get it, but it happens. And I am not one of those people. People do not gravitate toward me. I fully expect this channel to be watched by 2 people, and maybe eventually it will do well. I don't expect that anytime soon. I am awkward. I often put my foot in my mouth. I don't realize I've said something wrong until it came out, even though I spent a lot of time thinking about it beforehand. I cannot sell myself. I do not know how to do this. And a large part of me does not want to. Even if I had those skills, I would not want to use them. I put a lot of stock in being genuine, and I do not have a high regard for people who are not. I spent a lot of time trying to develop this selling persona and trying to get in this mindset. I made a website, I made a newsletter, I had a Facebook page and a Facebook group, I had a Twitter account and an Instagram. I tried doing a lot of Instagram stuff. I have not posted on my Instagram since 2019. I spent so much time trying to develop this person that I want people to see me as. And it was physically and mentally draining. And there's all of these things that you quote unquote need to do to be successful as an indie author. And I know there are a bunch of different ways you can do these things. There is no universal measurement of success, and certainly not when it comes to being an author. And I don't have particularly high expectations for how many books I want to sell or how much money I want to make from my books. But it is really frustrating to know how seriously I take my writing and how important my writing is to me and books are to me, and then see the most successful indie authors being ones that don't actually care about their books. They just care about making money. It is easy to fall into the trap of, oh, if I just do these things, if I have the right newsletter and I send it out every week and I do such and such, if I make enough Instagram posts, then it will work. But there are a few caveats to that at best. Primarily, you have to have something that will sell. And I don't even mean the book has to be well written, because there are plenty of poorly written books that sell just fine, traditionally and indie published. I mean, you need to have a marketable book, which I don't. I love these books. I'm so proud of these books. And I worked very hard to get them to be good books. But I don't know how to sell these books. My main character is not likable. She is introverted and depressed and antagonistic. She doesn't get along with hardly anyone. I don't know how to market this. I don't know what a good comp title is. The closest I can really think of is Gilmore Girls, but even that's not quite right. This does not follow any genre tropes. It does not fit. I can tell you what it is, but that doesn't, but I can't. This is a contemporary coming-of-age story. That's what I have. That's the information I can give you. It's not a contemporary romance. There are romantic elements. It is very slow burn, though. They don't get together in this book. They don't actually get together until the end of the third book. It's not about the romance. That's just probably my favorite part, because that's just who I am. Writing a blurb for these books was so hard because blurbs are so plot reliant, and this story is not. There isn't a plot. I can tell you the premise, but the stakes are not clear cut. This is literary fiction. Literary fiction does not sell for indie authors, or at least it did not at the time, and I tried. You're supposed to put in the stakes when you're writing your back cover blurb, and it's if she can't find closure with her father, she'll close the door on love. That's kind of accurate, but also kind of not. I don't know how to market these books. It does not fit a specific genre. It's literary fiction, and that is a lot harder to sell. Some genres do better as traditionally published, and these books, this series, would have been better if it had been traditionally published. This is a good book. I'm proud of this book, but I don't know how to market it. And if I can't market it well, then I can't get people to read it. So then it really feels like you're doing all of this hard work and nothing is happening. You're not making any headway. Nothing is getting better. In a lot of ways, that just prompts you to do more stuff, to try to make more noise, to catch more attention, and it doesn't work. If you're already getting burned out, adding more to your plate is just going to make that worse. And then maybe if it is a success, if you do get more eyes on your stuff because of that, is it worth it if you have fucked up your mental health trying to do that? Because the repercussions of these choices were not good. I consistently spread myself too thin. I was taking on too much, trying to do too many social media platforms, in addition to the newsletter and posting stuff on my website, having a blog on my website, and I wound up doing a bunch of things that just didn't work, a bunch of marketing ideas that will work for some people in some instances, but they did not work for what I was doing or for who I am. Because I don't really know how to define these books, that made a lot of the marketing things I could do not work. Doing newsletter swaps with young adult and new adult authors doesn't really work if my books aren't the kind of books their readers want to read. The amount of money that I spent that I did not have to spend is ridiculous. And I don't like to think about it because it's painful and embarrassing. There are so many indie authors and so many people wanting to make a profit off of indie authors. Technically, I am also one of those people. My freelance editing business is specifically for indie authors. And I'm certainly not saying that everyone who indie authors buy things from is trying to scam them. Absolutely not. There are loads of good editors and cover designers, but the way the social aspect and the marketing aspect of the whole system is set up lends itself to encouraging new, naive authors to spend money they don't have. I know not everyone is susceptible to this though, but I am. I wasted so much time and money on things that I did not need and things that did not help me. I have a collection of mostly pre-made covers that I will probably never use because whatever idea they're for was fleeting, or I decided to retire the series. I joined group projects and the anthologies, and it added way too much stress and pressure, and I had to leave. And I was lucky enough that I was able to get my money back, but I knew that was not a guarantee. But probably the two biggest things that feel like they were a complete waste of money are doing like giveaways for newsletter subs. Places like BookFunnel will let you like pay to join a huge giveaway with like 20 different authors. So readers will subscribe to all of these different newsletters to get all the free books. But if you don't have a book that fits well into one of those genres, the people who sign up are not going to be people interested in your books. I did a combination young and new adult group, contemporary focus, but that's not actually what I write. It's just the most marketable adjacent thing to what I write. But what I wasted the most money on was taking classes. And I'm not talking about something like Brilliant or Skillshare. Those, you can take classes on anything. It is one payment for their entire library. Now, a lot of the indie author gurus out there have classes, and the prices on these classes are insane. I've read some of their books. Most of them I did not find interesting or helpful. Some of them is like, okay, let me scrounge around for the information that feels like it actually applies to me. And that's what a lot of the classes tend to be too. I did not take a whole bunch of them. I did not spend insane amounts of money. Thank God. I did a few small classes here and there. These courses all tend to be about how to sell your books, not how to make the best book. They are about seeing your books as a product, not as a story. And that's something that has never sat right with me. That does not fit the values that I have. And even if I do subscribe to this marketing BS, I tried to focus on marketing, to try to figure out the best way to sell these books. But these courses are not designed for me. They're not designed for the way my brain works. But that is just one thing that I didn't really understand at the time. So I was trying these courses and reading these books and trying to figure out if I can just market my stories in the right way, then they'll sell. And maybe that is true, but I still don't know what the right way to do it is. And I don't think any of those publishing gurus do either, because they're not interested in selling my kind of book, because it's not easy to sell. I tried very hard to sell my books and to sell myself, and doing it just made me miserable. It made me hate the whole system. It made me so frustrated with the system itself and my inability to fit into the system. And I think that was the main source of my burnout. That is what made everything so stressful. That's what made writing not fun anymore, was trying to market myself, trying to sell me as a person. And the fact that it took me probably a year to realize how bad it had gotten then just made it worse. I had been trying to figure out depression, medication, and treatment since around 2016. Writing this book is actually how I figured out I have depression. I believe it was early 2019 we found a medication that worked well, and that was a huge help. But all of this burnout just exacerbated the depression, and I didn't write on my books for over 5 years, and it has been a huge struggle trying to get back into writing them. Over the last couple of years, my husband and I have gotten our oldest son tested for autism. He has already been diagnosed with ADHD, so going through this process, the amount of research I did on autism specifically and neurodiversity in general has been life-changing. There are so many things that I recognized in my research as experiences that I have. And a lot of the issues that I have had with publishing are things that make a lot more sense now that I have the context of autism. Our son got his diagnosis in August, so this is still pretty recent, and I don't intend to pursue a diagnosis for myself, but I feel pretty confident that this is just how my brain works. And now that I know these things about me, I have a better idea of how to handle some of the situations that I struggled with before. I'm not saying it's going to be all better, because it's not. I don't know enough. I don't have enough experience. But I do know any classes I've taken have been geared at neurotypical people. Any marketing plans are for neurotypical people. Twitter and Instagram and the way those systems work is for neurotypical people. And the reason that I struggle so much with fitting who I am into 160 characters or into a picture and whatever else is short form content does not work for me. I don't know how to be myself in short form content. I don't know how to feel like a real, genuine person, because being genuine is the most important thing to me. Like, being true to myself and true to what I believe and who I want to support. Now that I have some clarity, I can kind of start to apply that to how I want to approach writing and publishing in the future. It has taken me over 5 years to really delve back into my stories, and I want to do this carefully. I don't want to dive in too fast and drown. I want to take care of myself first, and writing and publishing second. Now, what does that mean? That means focusing on one social media platform and not bringing in another one until I feel comfortable enough to do so. That means focusing on long-form content like this so that I'm more comfortable and I can be authentic and genuine. It means rebuilding my newsletter in a simplified way. I only want to send out a newsletter if I actually have information to share. This means setting up a more relaxing and soothing environment for when I'm writing, as you can see. And it also means only spending money on things that I actually need. No buying covers for books I have not finished writing. They need to be done. And well, yes, I want to work on like craft and business improvement. I'm not going to sign up for a bunch of courses that don't really give me helpful information. I'm doing a local workshop here in a month or two, but that was free, and I specifically want to connect with other local writers and artists. This feels like a good plan, like it will help me focus on the things that actually matter to me, focus on the writing, focus on making my books as good as I can, but I'm still worried about burnout. Filming so far takes me so long. We've been here for 2 hours, and most of this will get cut. This video will probably not be much longer than 20 minutes, but I spend so much time figuring out what I want to say. I don't think quickly on my feet. My brain does not work like that. I know a lot more about myself and about what I want to do than I did 5 years ago, than I did 10 years ago. But that doesn't mean I know how to implement this in a way that will fix the issues that I'm having. There is no guarantee that I won't burn myself out again, and that it won't make my depression worse, which has been doing quite well the past few years. All of this really affects the kind of videos I want to make, the kind of experiences I want to share, and the kind of stories I want to write. I have so many story ideas, but I'm struggling. But I'm at the point where I'm tired of postponing it, and I want to do this. I want to write my stories. And it makes me sad that I haven't been able to. My biggest goal for doing AuthorTube is to hold myself accountable, to really help me delve back into writing regularly. And I'm just hoping that actually works and it doesn't cause me to burn out yet again. I just hope this isn't shit. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's not all going to be depressing, I promise.